But I did notice that the lungs they just got progressively worse, and to the point that my youngest brother, who's a medical doctor, didn't think I'd last like 5 years.
Julia, thank you so much for joining me again.
You're welcome.
So just to recap, you were interviewed on my channel about 5 months ago. Is that right?
Yeah, about
And
four. Yeah, just after I
4 or 5?
started, I think it was 4 months ago. I think it was about a month into Carnivore. So,
Okay.
and I started in July 17th of this year, 2023.
Awesome. So, maybe if we could just do a quick recap of what brought you to Carnivore, and then maybe we could talk about what has improved since the last time we spoke.
Okay, one word: desperation. I was so tired of feeling like garbage. I have full-blown emphysema, and the coughing fits were getting so debilitating that I couldn't function anymore. I mean, I was barely able to do house chores. Was really pushing to paint. That's what I do for a living. I'm an artist, and everything just became so heavy, and I was so sick of feeling like that. And I heard about Carnivore through my son Marty, who also has a channel called Bell Love Auto Spa. So shout out to Marty. He's a fantastic detailer. So I figure I put a plug in for you there. And he talked about the lion diet, and I looked it up, and I realized that that was the most extreme form of carnivore. And then I started looking up carnivore in general and found Dr. Ken Berry and Dr. Chafee and uh, Dr. Ben Bickman and others, and your channel also, and just started really taking it all in. And I said, this sounds about right for me because I have the type of body that's sensitive to everything. I had done keto, really like a ketovore, since 2011 and successfully was able to keep off 50 pounds. But it was always a fight to keep that weight off. It was always like, I was always battling like 5 or 7 pounds all the time. And it was like keeping the carbohydrate monster at bay, like the cravings, fighting that. It did. It just felt like a huge war. And anyway, by the time I started carnivore, the emphysemic symptoms have gotten worse. I could barely make it to the mailbox. I couldn't walk up the hill in my yard. I didn't feel like traveling anymore. That had been going on for about 2 years, still doing keto. And so I decided to give it a try. And in a very short time, the symptoms started to abate. Now, I also realized I needed to give up my coffee because I have coffee with my cream. That's how I was drinking it. So that had to go. And I noticed that the coughing right away when I did that, the violent, horrible coughing that I used to have just about went away. I still cough, but nothing like that. Um, After about maybe, I'm going to say 3 months into it, I mean, 5 months into it now, a little over, I was able to walk to the mailbox very briskly and back. And it's about maybe 100 yards each way and not have to stop. And one of the ways is uphill, and I didn't have to stop to catch my breath. So I noticed that the symptoms are starting to really really go down. And the other thing I noticed is I was able to make it all the way up to the top of my yard, which is about 50 yards in a fairly steep hill without stopping. And I could look at my house and everything. It's really cool. I was going to try to get a picture for you of me up there, but there's been a lot of snow, so I haven't been able to do that. Um, that's the biggest thing I think of all this. The rest, I mean, my skin, I haven't had a breakout on my face since I started carnivore. I have not had cracked heels. I used to get such painful cracked heels it hurt to walk. And I live in a very dry climate, and I was gooping on the cocoa butter and everything else and putting socks on and everything and didn't do anything. And when I started carnivore, after about 2 weeks, I noticed, I was like, oh my gosh, no more cracked heels like that quickly. The vertigo went away. The tinnitus that I had for the most part went away. Um, my sleep improved, even though I wake up like once in the night, but it's convenient so I can throw wood in my wood stove, and then I can go back to sleep. I have like, I guess what they call biphasic sleep because I feel very rested and everything, and I didn't used to. I used to always feel tired. Um, the anxiety that I had, which was like through the roof at times, is gone. I had pretty much with the Ketovore solved the depression, which I had had lifelong. That was the reason for starting the keto. But with carnivore, it really took it to the next level. And, I am open to doing lion diet if I find that, the healing and recovery tend to level off. I'm definitely open to doing that, as a next step to see what happens. But I've tweaked it so that I don't do butter because I've noticed that butter, I get addicted to it like everything else and I gain weight. So that's one of the things I need to stay away from. I can put a tiny bit in mixed with ghee, but generally I use duck fat or bacon fat. So I save the grease from the bacon and cook in that, and it's great. Um, I pretty much eat now just beef. I do all different cuts that are interesting, like ribeye, or I'll make take some chuck and shave it real thin. I just invested in a nice meat cutter. So I do real thin slices of that and cook that up in the morning. I make beef jerky out of it so I can make beef chips. Um, Occasionally, maybe once every 10 days or so, I'll eat fish like cod, salmon, um, more fatty fish. And, but generally, yeah, I just stick to beef. I kind of lost the taste for chicken, don't really like it that much. It's okay, but and I find that I think I get like a histamine reaction from it because I do notice when I eat it, my nose starts to run and stuff like that. So I like, probably stay away. I do like duck. So shout out to Charger Mopar for that, Rick. I love this stuff. Nice and fat, and eat that right up. And for Thanksgiving, that's what I had. Everybody else was eating the junk, and I had just a big old duck sitting on my plate, and it was so good. It's like, you want some? Nah, I said, good, more for me. So that's been my journey so far. I'm actually feeling well enough to travel again. And my children, I live in New Mexico, and my children live out east in Maine and New Hampshire. And just the thought of dealing with Southwest Airlines, it's like, no, yeah, I couldn't even handle even the thought of like lugging my suitcases, which I travel light anyway, to from the terminal to catch a cab or something or get an Uber was just overwhelming. I just couldn't even think of doing that because of, the coughing and being out of breath so much. And now it's like, yeah, I can totally handle that. So I'm hoping that was one of my goals. I'm hoping to travel in May and to go see the kids again. So they're real excited, and it's
Nice.
like, yes. And I think I can handle the craziness of Southwest. They like to play musical planes a lot. Yeah, you get on one, oh no, we have a malfunction. Okay, psych, you have to go back. Okay, nope, no, this plane you can't, nope, can't go that way, gotta go here. So, your whole day is wasted just, you know, anybody that's traveled knows what I'm talking about. It's so insane. But
So
excuse me.
in the time since we've spoken, how what's the change with the emphysema as far as like did you last time we spoke, would you have had the confidence to travel that
No,
far? Yeah.
no, I was not ready at all. I just said maybe, but nah, just totally not ready. And also I couldn't make it to the mailbox without stopping. And I totally couldn't climb up the top of my yard at all. Oh, and also I'm finding that like lifting 24 packs of water is fairly effortless now. I actually work out. I have cats, so I work out with cat litter, two 35-pound buckets, and I just lift those. And I couldn't even carry one, never mind lift them off the ground. I had to put everything on rollers to be able to, and this is at the beginning, just to get it from one room to another. Now I can just pick it up and carry it, no problem. You know, it's wonderful to do that.
So um I've recently been having more requests or comments on my videos talking about or asking for interviews with people who have got emphysema or COPD and things like that. And I always refer
Oh,
them to your original video. Um,
awesome.
but would you mind talking a little bit about how did the emphysema develop? What caused it? What was the issue?
Oh, I'm glad you asked because, yeah, I think it started. Well, let me backtrack. Having lung issues and COPD is a result of growing a lot of times of growing up in a very unsure, violent environment. You know, you don't feel safe and you're literally like this. So I had shortness of breath as a child, always getting throat infections and that kind of thing. Um, I noticed like I couldn't run like the other kids without getting out of breath. So this was from when being very young. I never took asthma medication or anything. And I noticed it getting worse when I was in my 40s working in a factory where I was working next to a trichlor bin. Now, if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's a substance that's used as a degreaser. And it was a big open vat. And it's so toxic that even if you try to go clean the vat, you can die if you don't have respiration equipment on. So I was working next to that for a good 8 years, maybe. A lot of people that had worked in that factory, once they retired, they died from respiratory stuff. So that's a piece of it. Growing up with secondhand smoke, I'm sure had a lot to do with it too. And when I was 17, I was a smoker. You know, I smoked a lot, and I stopped smoking in 1986. So I have not touched a cigarette since then. Just quit cold turkey. So I think those factored all into it. Um, and I've, since been very careful. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't do any medication of any kind and haven't ever. So my body, I think, fortunately hasn't been damaged by inhalers and stuff like that, like with other people. So I've kind of got a head start, which is why I think I've had such good success with carnivore. I um, I do acupuncture on a regular basis every other week, and that's mostly to treat, the COPD, which is, emphysema is a form of COPD, and to treat low back pain from coughing. But it's really funny. As a quick aside, now I go in there. It's like, do you have any aches and pains? Well, not really. You know, Here I am at 64 years old. I had my hands, if you can see, I broke this finger, and these fingers would swell up all the time because I have a wood stove, and then just shoving the wood in would cause like all kinds of carpal tunnel pain and everything else. And I just would put horse liniment on it and wrap it. I didn't take any medication or painkiller for it, but I live with that. Now it's like no pain whatever. It's so awesome. Um, so yeah, the emphysema, it's there, but it's nothing like it was. And I do believe that it can be healed. I think anything can. I mean, or at least, so that the symptoms are maybe just a light cough or something like that. It won't totally hold me back in life where I can't travel, I can't paint, I can't, where I can't do anything anymore. I feel like I'm getting my life back because of this way of life. It's just amazing. So the weight loss has been the secondary thing. The battling with the food is a primary thing, but the weight loss, I lost 14 pounds from switching from ketovore to carnivore. So just as a reference, because a lot of people I wish would do this. I'm 5'2". I weigh 100 pounds, and at my heaviest, I was 162 pounds when I started ketovore. So I kept 50 pounds or so, 45 to 50 pounds off. And then when I did carnivore, effortlessly, like the weight just flew off. I didn't even have to try. Which was like, oh my God, I'm disappearing. Like, what's going on? It was weird. It was really strange, but it was great. And it's leveled off at about between 100 and 102. I kind of level it at that. Um, so God, I'm just pinching myself sometimes. I can't believe how much better I feel overall, and it's been decades. Just when I think of it, I have so much compassion for people now that, especially if they're real heavy, just listening to like the pain they've gone through and the lipidemia and the tumors and I look around when I go food shopping and I just say, man, we sure live in a sick world. We sure, look at all these people and I used to judge people like, they're just eating crap, but no, it's so much bigger than that. They're addicted and maybe don't even know it, you know? I mean, if you're addicted to food and you can't stop eating, this is the cure. I'm telling you, this will totally stop the cravings. That's the biggest monkey off my back ever. I mean,
Right.
it's in, oh God, it's always like fighting the food. That's what I felt like. It's a monster, you know, every friggin' day. And just not to have that. And if I do get even a thought about it, I can go eat a piece of bacon and I'm good. So, and I'm not going to go off on a big binge. And now I watch people I just shake my head. I have a neighbor, for example, it's a sweetheart of a guy. He's only 50 or maybe 51. And he's got like bone on bone joint pain. He's a type 1 diabetic. He, he has battled with like drugs and everything. And he's in so much pain. He finally got off all the drugs, which I'm so happy for him. He stopped using all that stuff, the medication. But he's in agony. I said, Ray, I said, try this. I said, just try it for 30 days, man. I said, you got nothing to friggin' lose. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and eat all you want. I said, I guarantee you'll start feeling better. So I'm waiting to hear back from him and see what happens. I probably won't see him till Friday, but
Mm,
I'm crossing my fingers, just hoping that he'll give it a shot because I hate watching people suffer. I just
yeah.
do. But you can't tell people about it unless they're ready to hear it. And I think my neighbor hit bottom enough where he like me, he was desperate. So he's like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll try it. I will, like
I, I
that.
I think that's part of the reason we're able to talk to people who have had such big changes, and
Yes.
it's because you've almost got to get to the point where you're at rock bottom before this makes sense. And
Where
then
you've got
once you
nowhere to
start
go but
doing
up.
it, yeah, then once you start doing it, then you realize it was so simple. I could have done this anytime.
But here's the thing. If you're not at that point, you actually really think that you're giving something up. There's a great video that just came out by my friend, Old Guy Carnivore, that he calls it the carnivore test. He's got it written out. Are you addicted to food? And man, it's spot on. And one of the things I think is recognizing that you're an addict. You've got to. It's like I have no control over this, so I've got to find a way. And it basically you've got to recognize that it has you by the throat until you're ready
That
to do something about it.
that's a really good point, because people who are food addicts, like just your average citizen, we kind of maybe would look down on someone who's a drug addict or something like that, but
Right.
it's the same thing.
It's identical. Think about it. If you listen to Ben Bickman's videos, he talks about how sugar attacks the mitochondria in your body the same way that methamphetamines do. Is that a drug or what? Hello? I mean, it's really strange. When you start this way of life, you start looking at the world a little differently, I think. And here we are in the holidays. And I mean, I'm all about, getting together with family and talking to my kids. I love my kids and my family, but the frickin' food, it's a big sugar fest. That's all it is. It's like candy canes and cake. And it's like, I'm not even tempted by it because to me, when I eat that stuff, eating my gun looks like a really good idea, you know? I mean, it's that bad.
But,
It really,
um,
it's like, no
on
thanks.
still on that kind of, the addict theme, um I wonder, can you imagine a situation? Let's imagine sugar had never been discovered,
Ah, wouldn't that be
and
awesome?
like it, all of a sudden someone discovered sugar like a year ago. Do you think governments would treat it the same way as they have done? Like, if it was a new discovery, they would probably look at it and go, "Hang on, this is a drug of addiction. No one's making money off this.
Oh,
We
then
can't
no.
let this be public."
But
You know?
when they find a way to make money on it, oh yeah, it's like, hey,
Yeah,
we can make money. Yeah, and then they can get it in the, get it in the food supply like they've done. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want to go there because I don't want to get you black dots on YouTube, but I think you know where I'm
agree.
coming from with that one.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Oh
so
gosh.
how this is a big change for your whole family, I imagine. So you talked about how your kids are living in other states. Like, just making a phone call or doing a FaceTime or something with your kids now compared to, what it was like 5 years ago, it must be chalk and cheese. Like,
Oh
just because you
yes,
haven't got the emphysema
because I'm not
symptoms.
coughing all the time. They are tickled to death. They're so happy for me, and they're so happy that I'm going to come out in May. That I'm definitively going to do that. That they're so supportive. I said, yeah, just throw ribeye at me. I'm good. I'm easy.
And,
You
well,
go.
on that point, actually, how do they feel about this? I mean, I guess your son got you onto it, but what about your daughter? How is she?
Well, I've got two boys and a girl. So my oldest boy, he's watched me do keto over the years, and he's tried it himself. And he's tried, like, kind of dabbled in the carnivore. He just hasn't hit the bottom yet, but he knows the difference. So he's 100% supportive. My daughter just sees the improvement, the fact that she's a physical therapist. So the fact that I can walk to the top of a hill, walk to the mailbox, I'm willing to travel now and deal with Southwest charades. Um, she's tickled to death. My youngest son, the one that told me about it, he tried it because he tried the most extreme form and he got so exhausted and sick that he quit. But he supports me because he sees how much better I'm doing when I'm talking, that I'm not always coughing like I was and stuff. So they're 100% on board. And I'm hoping someday they'll try it or at least try some form of keto. Because I think it's the proper human diet, like Ken Berry says. It's the way that we need to be eating, or at least whole foods and basically shop the perimeter of the store and stay away from the middle, and you'll do okay. You know, even if you happen to eat vegetables, if you're eating whole food, I'm all about that.
So day to day, obviously, in the work you're doing with your painting and stuff like that, the improvement with the emphysema has obviously helped in that
Oh,
regard.
oh,
Um,
yes.
what other things on a kind of a practical level have changed for you day to day? What's easier to do or what's quicker to do?
Everything, everything. Just not having to force myself. I'm a very disciplined person. So if my house needs cleaning, I'm Italian too, so I don't care how bad it is. I've got to wash that floor. I'll make myself do it if I'm dying because you never know who's going to come over and think you're a slob. So it's the programming. No, but honestly, like for example, just sitting doing a painting, it still happens every now and then, but I would start painting and then the coughing fit would come and I just couldn't do it. I had to wait and then I'd be real tired from that. Just having that stop for the most part. Now I've got like three paintings going, where maybe I could do one every 6 months before that. And I had to really push myself. Cleaning, it's easy. The big thing I noticed, like, it's winter now here, so taking wood in the house, I have a big wood pile which I stack myself. Um, here they sell it by the truckload, so I get 2 pallets and I stack like about maybe 4 to 5 truckloads of wood for the winter. And just being able to go out there, load my arms up, open the door, bring it in, put it in the rack. load the stove. I mean, it's like no big deal. Before it was just like exhausting, and I make myself do it because I didn't want to stop moving. I wanted to just keep myself going because my daughter always told me, even if you do a little bit of effort, even if you have emphysema, just getting your heart going is really good for you. And now it's so effortless to do that. I'm just trying to think of anything else. Having to go to the store, just that was a exhausting. Just thinking about getting in my car, driving the car. I mean, we live a good maybe 15 miles from the local grocery store, and then having to lift litter boxes into the trunk or racks of water. Oh my God. And I used to dread, like, oh, I hope I can find somebody that can help me load this in the cart. So, and I was always fortunate. People are so nice out here in New Mexico. They're always willing to help you. They're really, really sweet. But now I can do it myself. And matter of fact, I remember one day I met, that's where you meet everybody is at the local Walmart. So it's a small town. And my friends were there, one guy that fixes my computer, and I said, look, I said, I can do this now. And I was loading the cat litter into the cart. And he was like, oh my gosh, wow. I said, you ought to try it. And I said, I'm doing carnivore diet. That's all I said. Because he and his wife had struggled with food, and they're both morbidly obese. But I left it at that. I said, look what I can do now. So power of example, I think, it speaks for itself. I'm just thinking of other things. Oh, taking care of the yard in the summertime. So in July, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I started carnivore, I was able to weed whack that whole yard. I trimmed bushes. I was able to, I hadn't been able to do it. My partner usually would do it for me. And he got real busy because he works, for another guy. And the grass was getting kind of shaggy. So I was able to, it's electric, it's a little bit more lightweight, but I weed whacked that baby. I was like, shh, no problem. I had that yard. He was shocked. So all that kind of stuff I can do now.
So, um, this interview that we're doing now, if you were doing this interview 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I mean, what would it be like for you? I mean, I guess you'd be constantly interrupted by coughing and stuff, but like, what's the duration and what's the kind of recovery time you would need for something like a coughing?
I don't know. I would say that it's in the last 3 years that the symptoms have gotten really bad because 6 years ago, I had a full-fledged pottery business and I was doing historical reproduction and I was able to, lift stuff. And I mean, I had the coughing, but it wasn't debilitating. It happened, I think it started getting worse after my late husband passed away in 2017. And then say about maybe right around the COVID time, then it really started getting bad. Not because I had COVID, but that's when it really started to hit. So 6 years ago, I would have been okay.
Oh,
Still had
okay.
things on
So,
rollers, but
yeah,
I'm doing better in many ways now than even then because I'm
yeah.
finding that I can lift things more easily. I don't get as
Mm,
tired. I don't have to like ration my energy like I used to. You
mm,
know,
mm.
that's
So,
the difference.
apologies, my timeline was a
No
little bit
worries.
off there. So, like, maybe if you could contrast, like, 3 years ago to now, like, what would it be
Okay.
like trying to have a conversation like this?
Um, as long as I was sitting down and I had ice water with me, I'd be okay. But I would have to sometimes stop to clear my lungs and cough during the conversation. So that's what it would have been like. Um, if I had to physically do something, that's another story. That would have been really hard. Like if I had
So,
to get
so
up and
it mainly was the biggest issue when anything physical was involved.
yes, exactly.
Right.
Like taking care of my yard, stacking wood, bringing it in, grocery shopping, um, just anything heavy. It's one of the main reasons I let the pottery business go because after Dino died, it got to be too much for me physically to do it. I was making some pretty giant pots and stuff like that. I just couldn't handle it. Even just wedging the clay to get the air out of it was tiring. I think a lot of that at the time was grieving too, because I mean, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. But I did notice that the lungs they just got progressively worse, and to the point that my brother, youngest brother, who's a medical doctor, didn't think I'd last like 5 years. It was bad. It was pretty bad. As far as just physically being able to do things. So that's the most massive change, and talking without having to cough every 5 minutes. Not having that scratchy tickle. That's huge.
And has your doctor brother got any feeling about this? Is he
He's
like,
on board 100%. He's so happy for me, and he encourages me. Um, he's also he's very awake. He's not mainstream. My brother's very much kind of broken the mold. He's had his own awakening, I'd say, about 2 years ago, which is absolutely wonderful. Wouldn't be surprised if one of these days he'll be making YouTube videos too. But he sees the change, he sees the improvement, he see even the anxiety level. I mean, just my overall being. He's seen me get so much better, 100%. And so he's 100% behind me with it. So I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of support from family.
Julia, can you talk a little bit about your painting and how people can find you, whether that's your website or YouTube or anywhere?
They can find me on YouTube at Venetian Cat Fine Art, where I just have a couple of videos up of some old pottery that I used to do, the type of work. But now I'm doing full time doing painting. So I do photographic realism, and I can do anything from landscapes to portraits. And the website is venetiancat.com, and spelled just like it is, but all one word, venetiancat.com. And you can see all my artwork on that. So, I can take commissions or anything else, or if you want to just shoot me an email and talk about carnivore, I'm more than happy to discuss emphysema and dealing with it, because man, I'll tell you, it's just not to have doctors throw inhalers at you, which I don't take anyway. Um, I think I've even got my acupuncturist kind of baffled. He's just like, he's an acupuncturist, but he's kind of mainstream in a way, and he's just like kind of scratching his head, going, "That's all you eat is meat?" And like, yeah. It's like, well, I guess it's working, because he feels my pulses and stuff like that, and he says, you've improved so much, and like he can't he can't wrap his mind around it. I just laugh, but he's a wonderful guy, and it really has helped. Um, so yeah, that's how to find me. Any questions? I'm more than happy to talk to people. You want to do a Zoom chat with me sometime? Just email me. That would be info@venetiancat.com. So if you want to email me, I'm happy to talk to anybody about this, because I'll tell you what, it's given me a lease on life, a new lease on life. It really has. I mean, I'm 64, and I thought, well, if I live to be 70, I'm lucky. Now I'm looking forward to life. I'm going, yeah, I could live to be 80. I'm good. But just looking, I
Yeah,
can live again. I'm living again, which is just awesome. There's no price on that.
that
So
seems to be a common theme with carnivores. The
yeah,
future looks a whole lot different once you start eating this way.
that carnivore glow, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, it's what it affects everything. I mean, it just permeates every aspect of your life. Just like when you eat badly or you're addicted to something, it affects every area of your life as well. You know, and I really think the more people get this, it's this wonderful ripple effect, because you don't even realize who you're affecting. People see you, and I think it just the vibes can attract. It's attraction, not promotion. They say that in other 12-step programs too. Because I've been addicted to all kinds of other things, which thank God one day at a time I'm not anymore. But it's you become a power of example, and people. I think if they're desperate enough, like my neighbor, they're going to want to give it a shot. Because he saw how sick I was. He's known me since I've lived here, which is 13 years, and he sees the difference from then and now. So he's like, "Wow, I got to try that myself." My
Yeah.
partner's the one that I'd love to get on board with it because he's an poor guy's got horrendous inflammation from just pain in his arms. Just bad diet and alcohol is not helping. But I just leave him alone. He'll find his own way, himself. I mean, me nagging him isn't going to do any good. Didn't do me any good.
Yeah.
You know,
Everyone will get there once they're ready, right?
in their own, if they're ready, in their own way. Unfortunately, some people they don't. It's just like Sean Baker was saying. Look how many amputations that he's done for people that were diabetic, and they thanked him for removing the limb. Ah, now I feel better, and they went back to eating the same stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, my head. You know, poor people, and I see people do that with alcohol, drugs, everything else. So who's to say, But if I could make a difference with just one life, one person someday, I'm good with that too. That's why I do these interviews, hopefully, just to, someone will listen to it and hear what they need to hear, hopefully. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I've loved the guests you've had, man. You've had some wonderful people that inspire me to keep going too. So thank you.
Cheers. Well,
Cheers,
yeah,
Dave.
I really appreciate you coming on and sharing an update and talking more about your story with us, Julia.
You
Thank you so
bet.
much.